Hi everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome to my channel. It has been a huge 2 weeks as far as Flosstube is being concerned for me. So I just want to say, and I feel like I'm about to sneeze, so my apologies if you're wearing earphones and such, and if I do sneeze, also with the face pulling, it's more because I'm trying to hold back a sneeze. But what I'm trying to say is a big hello and welcome to all new subscribers. The numbers have actually jumped up a lot more than what I really was ever expecting, especially since a couple of weeks ago, maybe three or 4 weeks ago, when this episode airs, when I did a whip parade and a bit of a haul kind of sharing with you as well. It helped me to appreciate just how much everyone in the cross stitch and crafting community, how much people have really enjoyed those kinds of episodes. I had never fully appreciated just how much joy people get out of watching it. And I'm saying that because with the episode that I did probably about two, maybe three episodes ago now, I've had 1.1 thousand views for that. And for me, like, I still feel like I'm very new to filming Flosstube and all the rest. That for me, that's a huge number, and I really had not expected to get any kinds of views connected to that kind of episode until I really got into the groove of Flosstube and sort of becoming a seasoned Flosstuber, if that's possible. So I just want to say thank you all so much for the comments that you've put for that episode, let alone any of the other episodes. And I'm really glad that you guys have actually really liked what I've been doing and you want to see more. So with that in mind, with this particular episode, it it's got a little bit of everything, but Dewdrop Daisy. So the last couple of episodes, the cross stitch project that I've been doing a lot of work on, called Dewdrop Daisy, which is a hot cross stitching design. It is featured heavily, potentially a little bit too much, in some of my episodes. So I mean, I've taken a little bit of a break from it in terms of stitching, even though ironically it is meant to be one of my focus pieces for this year, as part of the Facebook group, Full Coverage Fanatics challenge that I'm wanting to participate in, of getting 22,000 stitches on it for the year 2022. So that's where, because I felt that I've needed a break from that project, and also based on how many views my whip parade got, I've rejigged or readjusted a little bit, and it's given me motivation to go, actually, I really want to go and work on some other projects as well. So that's where it's been a bit of a whirlwind with cross stitch for me, and just pulling out some of the projects that haven't had as much love as what they deserve and need. And I've gotten a bit of a second wind for some of the projects. And also, I've gotten back into the groove of using my sewing machine. So, broadly speaking, I have a little bit of a, not not hate's too strong a word for this context. I love sewing. And I have fits and bursts of it. More often than not, I've historically used the sewing machine to hem clothing, because I'm short. So for me, hemming pants especially is a chore, but it's something that I have to accept because I am about 153 centimeters tall, give or take, time of day. So even if I buy a pair of pants that fit me everywhere else, I usually have to take about 5 to 10 centimeters off the bottom of the pants, depending on what type of pants they are, so I can wear them without tripping over myself. I can do that without any extra fabric. I don't need that kind of help. So that's where I tend to go, okay, I know how to use a sewing machine, let's get this done. And hemming things up and making sure things are straight has always been a struggle. So that said, I've when I have actually gotten into the mode of using a sewing machine, it's like, okay, the crafty juices start flowing again. And that's what has happened for me over the last week or so, where for Christmas, and I'm just going through my pile of things that I've got here that I want to share with you. So over Christmas, Santa was very generous and gave me a small Android tablet that I'm heavily using for Pattern Keeper, for a lot of my full coverage projects. And because I'm trying to be really careful with it, I am clumsy. And I have a tendency to accidentally drop things, break them, and cause any other kind of damage. I want to protect it. And I know that I can buy cases and all the rest online for it, but I've got a bundle of fabric that I want to use and I want to make the most of it. So, based on what I've seen on a couple of different Flosstube channels, and I actually even did some searches on YouTube as well for some tutorials that I could use to make myself like a little pouch kind of thing for my tablet. And so this is still very raw. I still need to do a lot of work on it. So the aim is that this will be the pouch for the tablet. I've still got some edging that I need to do for the top here. And what my aim is for the tablet to fit in comfortably, and I'll use, so I'm just going to see if I can find, I'm going to use a charm or something similar to hold it down using like maybe some elastic or something like that. So as part of me being semi multi-crafty kind of person, and dabbling in a couple of little things, I've got these little charms, for the lack of better wording. So they've got like a little loop thing on the back of that I bought for the purpose of maybe using it for scrapbooking, or I think it was scrapbooking that I bought it with those sorts of intentions. But yeah, like I guess using a charm, something like that, to be on the front to help as a hook, for to latch the cover down, I thought could be quite cute. But part of my problem when this comes back to sewing and stitching and all that kind of stuff, I struggle to walk straight sober, because my balance isn't great. So if I can't walk straight, therefore I can't draw straight, even with rulers. I can't, I struggle to sew straight, even if I've got special guidelines and that kind of thing. So, this is part of my struggle where, because I didn't really have a proper template to use with this bag, I've gotten myself into a whole world of trouble. So I did do some kind of measurements where I've got a two sizes, the square mats that quilters use, for doing quilting and similar crafts, and I'm sure that it's used for like sewing and that kind of thing when you've got to cut fabric and you want to use like a rotary cutter. Um, so I have used those markings on the mat to help with measurements to some extent. And I've wanted to do this as like a bit of lining as well. And where I got myself into trouble, and I'm going to pull this inside out to help show you all what's going on. Um, with the light blue fabric that you see here, I did measure the width, and so it's wide enough, that's not a problem. But you might see that I've got some fluff at the bottom. It wasn't long enough. So this is me being very casual about how I do sewing, and because it's just for me, that's okay. I'm totally okay with the fluff stuff showing through at the bottom and that kind of thing. So as a side note, the fluff stuff, it's wadding that I have excess of from when I made myself a quilt out of a lot of the cross stitch projects that I've stitched on over the years. So if you want to know, if you want to have a look at that particular quilt and the stages that I went through for making it and all the rest, I'll include a link in the description box. I wrote a blog about it and took everyone on a journey with me on the struggles and the challenges that I had, my thought processes, and all the rest with that. So that's what this fluff stuff is. That's where I've gotten it because I guess it was twofold reason for why I've used the wadding. I wanted it to be soft because I wanted to protect my tablet, and I just needed to use something to give it a bit of that lining because I didn't want to go to a craft store just specifically to get that special lining that many people use for their project bags and many other types of craft. So the other thing that I found as part of me not measuring properly and not having a proper template to go by is even though I did do my best to try and do measurements and everything, this isn't tall enough. So even with this flap coming over, it barely covers the tablet. So that's where I then added this blue fabric at the bottom. But I need to unpick parts of it because it, even with this blue bottom being here, I need to get rid of the seam here so that you might be able to see that I've started unpicking it a little bit there, but it's part of the reason why the tablet doesn't fit, and it's a learning curve. And I know that there are potentially other templates, websites, and such out there that I could get something like this from, and it is something where I need to rejig my brain a bit as well in terms of following instructions. For cross stitch, I can follow a pattern for much of a muchness. There will always be mistakes in my stitching. I don't know of any project I've finished or currently working on that does not have a mistake in it, or where I've had to frog it to then restitch it or anything in between. But for me, that's part of the creative journey, and I accept that things will never be perfect, and that to get as close to perfect as I'd be happy with is going to take time and practice and patience. Um, so there's it's all part of the learning curve. It's going to be all right. So the really good thing is that this week I have off. So I know that I haven't mentioned at the start of our episode that today's Monday, the 24th of January, and I've been lucky enough to be allowed to take this week off because here in Australia on Wednesday, the 26th of January, is Australia Day. So I thought that it'd be, in my headspace, it'd be easier to take the entire week off than have a disjointed week. Even though having a public holiday in the middle of the week is actually kind of a good thing because it breaks that week up a bit and it helps to re-energize yourself and feel ready to finish the rest of the working week for Thursday and Friday if you do work the traditional days of Monday to Friday. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's get back to this crafty stuff. So this particular bag, I'll turn this back around. One of the things that I also, as part of the searches that I've done on YouTube and the websites and that kind of thing, one of the other things that I really liked as part of one of the things I came across was one of them had like a pouch thing at the front and it had two pockets. So I've also tried to, and I'm not going to be able to show it very well. It is like the pockets are lined as well. So these two little pockets do have this light blue fabric, and I guess it's a fairly big pocket. But my intention would be to put like my scissors in there and perhaps some needles and other crafty related things. So it also keeps it in one spot if I'm going to be using like a tote bag or something very similar to carry some of my cross stitch stuff around. So that's a bit of the logic, and I still have a bit of work to go, and I'm hoping I can. I'm not going to make any guarantees, but I'm hoping that I can get this bag completed by the end of this working week. Perhaps next time we catch up, I'll have this completed. Don't hold me to it. I can't make any guarantees, but that's the aim. That's the hope. So, aside from this, I have actually been doing quite a little bit of everything almost with cross stitch. So the first project that I got back into is a pattern by Tiny Modernist, and this is the elephant biscornu. And I bought the pattern from one of my local needlework stores called the Crafty Frog, and I when I first bought this, I had a mini fangirl moment where I had definitely heard of Tiny Modernist and the patterns that she designs and all the rest because of Flosstube, because I've seen many people over the years talk about her and the projects that they're working on that she's designed and such. So when I saw it at the Crafty Frog, it was like my mind was so excited, and I was like, I've heard of this person, and I'm just was so excited that here in Canberra we had this, and a part of my excitement connected to that is with Canberra, and this is a side note, where compared to some of the major cities in Australia like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, and such, we could almost be considered like a suburb of Sydney, for example, or a suburb or area of Melbourne or somewhere. And so, if there are going to be, say, some big performers, like big names, who are going to come to Australia and perform their music or whatever they do, they don't come to Canberra more often than not. If we want to go and see any of these performers, we've got to head up to Sydney or go down to Melbourne or maybe even up to Brisbane or somewhere, because we we are very far away from at least 1 million people. We only have maybe 400,000, if that, maybe a touch more. So we're small. So that's why seeing Tiny Modernist to me was exciting, because I thought that I'd have to travel um, a lot longer than half an hour to get something like this, or that I'd have to order it online and then wait for weeks for it to come over from America. So that's a bit of the backstory for my fangirl moment and all the rest. So the challenge with this biscornu is, I can't count. So this is on, I think it's, might be 32 count linen. And it's beautiful. So this fabric I also bought from the Crafty Frog, and I started this um, project as part of the Black Needle Society's Autumn in Stars Hollow stitching box. One of the challenges was to stitch something that had an elephant in it, because I think the name of that challenge was The Elephant in the Room, or something very similar to that. So when I started it, and then for a lot of last year, we for the work that I'm part of, or the work that I do, we went through a stage of having quite a lot of meetings, um, and such, where I needed to just be there to hear the information and be informed about different things that were going on, rather than participating heavily because of, like, I might be needing to talk about my job or whatever it is that's going on. So because I didn't need to do any of that, and a lot of those sorts of meetings would go on average for about 45 minutes, um, I would actually be working on the elephant biscornu. And when I actually got back into stitching this, I thought, yep, I'm powering along. I'm doing really well. I've not miscounted or anything. And then I'll include a picture as well. I got about halfway through stitching the elephant, that you can see my fingers moving on. I got about halfway through stitching this elephant, and then I came to realise it's part of it was just a little bit too close to a couple of the flowers that were on the um, pattern that I'd already stitched, and I was like, crap. I was out by about 63 to 65 stitches, roughly that. So I had to frog some of the pink back stitching, and I needed to frog a little bit of the elephant as well. That's, I guess, facing towards the other elephant. And yeah, it was challenging, but I also used some of my embroidery scissors just to snip some of the stitches, to move them out of the way, rather than completely frogging the elephant that I'd stitched, partly stitched, because I thought, no, I don't want to have to restitch a bundle of grey. And it's worked out in the end. It'll be all right. This biscornu is going to be far from perfect. So it'll be interesting to see how things go. And yeah, it is what it is. It'll be all right. So the next project that I've done a bit of work on is the Autumn in Stars hollow pattern by the Black Needle Society. And what gave me motivation to do a bit more work on this is I got to fill out the form for the next stitchy box that will be for this. It'll be Summer in Stars Hollow, that I think we're due to start participating in around the 21st, potentially the 23rd of June. I think it'll be roughly around that time. So I've got about 5 months to get my act together and get this finished. That's the goal. Whether or not that happens, it'll be all right. So with that in mind, this is what I've done so far. So I have finished the green behind the Luke's coffee mug, and I've finished stitching the Yale and Harvard flags, and I just need to find a DMC thread that will work for the background for those two flags, because in the pattern I'll just bring this a bit closer so you can see what's going on. So in the pattern, it calls for an over-dyed thread that I don't have, and I know that there will be a DMC equivalent, and I figure I'll just go through. I do have a fair amount of stash for DMC thread, so I'll be able to go through it and find a colour that that can work, because in this particular circumstance I'll be using like the cover photo as my guide for the colour rather than anything else. So I think it's Weeks Dye Works as the over dye thread colour that, or brand, sorry, that has been called for in that part of the pattern. It'll be alright, it'll be all cool. So this particular fabric that I'm stitching on, it came with the Black Needle Society Stars Hollow Stitchy box, and it is 28 count cashel linen. It's hand dyed, and it is a fat eighth from Fibre on a Whim. So the good thing is the fabric came with a tag to say what it's all about. So once I finished the two flags, I was happy with that and decided to set it aside. And so the next project that I started doing a bit of work on is a hot cross-stitching design. And this particular one is called Blue Mountains Walking Trail. So this is what it's going to look like in the end. This is a photo that I took up at the Blue Mountains a few years ago. It's a beautiful spot, and I'm really wanting to be able to get back there again one day. And with this particular project, with the week that we've just had, I have actually struggled a bit with stitching on it. So this is the project so far, and what I'm aiming to do is just be filling in a bit of the project. Yeah, on the side here, I've been trying to fill it in a fair bit, and I'm using Pattern Keeper, and it is a godsend. So it's a bit hard going in the sense that I think it's 25 or 28 count easy grid or easy guide. It's 20 by 20 squares, and I bought this fabric from the Crafty Frog, and I definitely enjoy stitching on this. Stitching it all DMC thread 1/1, but I am just finding that it's a little bit to do with the size of the squares, probably a combination of a lot of things that are going on. So it's just taking a bit of time. So it'll get there. I'm sure that once I branch out a bit, it'll be all good, because it's a lot of the ferny kind of I guess ferny kind of branch, ferny kind of leaves that I'm stitching on at the moment. So that's probably where it's a little bit hard going, and I'm sure I'll grumble when I get to a lot more of the greens as well. So I took a little bit of a break from that, and as part of me getting that stitching bug back a bit and looking through some of my projects that haven't received a lot of love and I want to try and get finished this year and all the rest, is one that has actually been on pause for about 3 years minimum, potentially longer. Actually, it's been longer than 3 years. So I'm basing it on saying 3 years because of the last time I remember showing anyone this project and the work that I've put into it. So this particular project is called Midnight Glow, and it's by Custom Crafts. This particular pattern I've had in my collection for quite a while. The copyright stamp says that it was 2011, and so I don't know if I bought this in the year 2011 or 2012, but I could have even purchased it like a couple of years after that. I've definitely had this a while, and I've gotten about three quarters the way through, and I did some calculations, and I have just under 10,500 stitches that I need to do to finish it. That said, and I'll hold this up to show you, the I think it works out to being 10,400 and something or other stitches. That's not the full amount that I need to stitch to complete it. That's the full amount that, or the 10,400 and something is the amount that I need to stitch, so I still have a little bit of a gap of fabric at the bottom of the project. Okay, so I'm just going to take a step back. So this is Midnight Glow, and so the shadows are kicking in a bit. So you can sort of see I've got a bit of fabric at the bottom, but it's not enough, and I've actually counted. So I need to have, as far as where the page ends, I would need to have about 65 to 68 stitches of fabric available, plus the amount that you need to help with framing and that kind of thing. I think there's about 60 stitches available worth of fabric for the bottom here. So that's where I've decided to make that decision of not stitching the last eight to 10 stitches, so the last block that you might see on a page. And so yesterday I was doing a bit of record keeping as part of personal work stuff, and so I was doing a lot of the stitching that you see there. And the good thing is it works out that, and I'll hold this up, the good thing is I'll be able to definitely get the horse's nostrils and mouth in. That's going to be no worries. And that was my biggest concern, that I was going to not have enough fabric to be able to make the horse complete in that sense. But the good thing is, with the areas that I'm not going to be stitching, it's just going to be like the horse's mane and maybe a bit of the tail or whatever it is that we're seeing on the picture here. So it's going to be impressive when it's done, and I will get it framed. Initially, for quite a few years, I was thinking of making a quilt out of a lot of the horse themed projects and patterns and such that I've got, but yeah, it's not going to happen, and I'll be able to show why very soon. So just before I jump into plans and everything else that's going on, the last project that I've gone back to and done quite a lot of work on is a personal pattern, in the sense that I'm stitching it for myself, and that it will never be a hot cross stitching design or anything like that, because there are too many unknown elements about this pattern that I don't want to get myself into trouble for. So this is what I'm working on. So it's still a bucket load of teal, dark teal, that needs to get stitched, and I'll just find my phone. So I think potentially in my whips and haul parade, I did talk a little bit about the Pisces quote, or that I've dubbed Pisces quote, and I'm just finding the mock-up to show you. So I know that the words won't appear, but that's pretty much the overall look of the project. And with the way that I'm going to be stitching is a part of the edges are going to end up getting cut off, because I can't measure things very well. I'm one of those clever kinds of people, as we've also seen with Midnight Glow. So the words for this, it says, Pisces. Not everyone gets the same version of me. One person will tell you I'm a beautiful soul. Another will tell you I'm a cold-hearted a-hole. Believe both, I act accordingly. And I, I realize it's a bit of a snarky or a sassy kind of quote, and if nothing else, a subversive cross-stitch kind of quote. And I came across that quote a few years ago as part of scrolling through Pinterest. I love Pinterest. It is one of my wonderful time wasting things that I will scroll through as just to fill in a bit of time if I need to. And I'd come across the quote, and I don't know who said it. I've tried to do some Google searches and that kind of thing. The quote I saw as part of a picture of a dude. I've had a mental blank on his surname. I've got the name Tom Ellis on my brain, but it's not Tom Ellis. Tom Ellis is the actor in the Netflix series Lucifer. I really like that show, but that's not that Tom. Tom Brody. It was the dude who is in Peaky Blinders. I think his character started appearing in maybe the third season of Peaky Blinders, and the character is still alive. His character is, I think, one of the Jewish Jewish traders, like his Jewish heritage, the character, and as part of one of the underground mobs groups, whichever that the Peaky Blinders deal with as part of what they do on that show. But it's that dude, the dude who plays the Jewish character, that Killian, the lead actor, his character deals with. Anyway, it's a long-winded way of me trying to figure out, I don't know who said the quote. I don't know if it's attributed to the Tom dude whose surname I can't remember, or whichever it might be, I can't remember. But the reason why I've chosen Pisces as part of all this is it's connected to my sun sign. I'm into astrology. I'm still learning a lot about it. I'm very much into tarot cards and all of that kind of stuff. And so I just wanted to find something that I felt connected to, and all the rest. And so this sort of leads me on to my next round of tangents of crafty stuff and everything that's going on. So I'm just going to get this out of the way. Okay, I just need a drink of coffee. Okay, so I'm going to include some pictures, and I'm just taking note of what the time is so I know the date stamp. Okay, so we're about 38 minutes in. So my craft room looks and feels like a bomb hit it, and it's my own doing, it's my own choice, and my craft room looks like it does at the moment because I am wanting to rejig things a little bit. I have a 4-drawer filing cabinet that's in the office room that my boyfriend uses as his office for when we're working from home. And even before we ever had the twinkling or notion of working from home for the work that we do, he used that space as a bit of his office space because of his own interests and that kind of thing. And I also needed to give him some kind of space as well. So it's a running joke between he and I that I was living in this house for about 6 months before, actually, no, a bit longer. So I was living in here for 6 months before he and I became a couple. And then, and 3 months later, he moved in. So I was living in this house, I guess, what, 8 or 9 months? And then when he said, "Oh, look," we had that discussion about moving in and all the rest, I was like, okay, I kind of got to give him space because the room that we're in right now, I used it as a spare bedroom for whomever needed it, and the room he's using as his office was going to be my craft room and all that kind of stuff because I thought that it had good light. The internet connection was semi good at that stage. It's 10 times better now. And so I use this 4 drawer filing cabinet to store a combination of a lot of my crafty stuff in terms of my cross stitch patterns, cross stitch kits, fabric, all that kind of stuff. And then the other half was personal papers and personal record keeping that I need to keep well before hot cross stitching came to existence. And now I guess for many years now, I've been wanting to move that filing cabinet out of the front room. So my boyfriend has a truly dedicated space for him and anything that he's needing and wanting to do. And a lot of that has come about through, I guess, the summer break that we've had, where one of my boyfriend's hobbies is fishing, and he needs space for his gear, and it's become increasingly evident that over time that there's better ways for him to be able to store a lot of the gear that he needs for his fishing. Most of this gear that I'm thinking of is like the reels and the fishing line and like the different types of fishing line that he needs, and I guess some of the hooks and the jigs and all of those special kinds of tools and such that he needs for his fishing. So this is part of me actually finally putting to action clearing out that filing cabinet, and I have gotten the more annoying part of it out of the way. So the annoying part of it being going through some of my paperwork, like old bills and that kind of thing, bank statements and such that are well and truly past their expiry date. So I got to do my favourite form of record keeping by doing a lot of shredding, and I'm smiling and laughing a bit because I am a records manager by trade, and for throughout my career, regardless of who I work for, where I've worked, or anything like that, I've said to a lot of people that my favourite form of record keeping is destruction because we don't need to hang on to everything. If I tap into my archivist side of things, then I would be having a hissy fit because it'd be like, no, no, how do you think we get heritage stuff? If we destroy it, we can't, no, 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 because, yeah, so that's where I'm a bit torn. But I'm a records manager by trade, so that's where I got to clear out quite a lot of stuff, and I have filled up half of our recycling bin. And here in Australia, our recycling bins are quite big. So I've been able to fill up half of it, plus a bag that has gone into another bin. And sorry, my shredded thing's underneath, I'm just trying to gauge. I have filled up another bin. It will probably be 2.5 litres deep. Yeah, about 2.5 litres deep. And it's full, like full to the brim. It is just not going to shred anymore. And I still have about that much to go. So our recycling day is going to be coming up pretty soon. I think it's Wednesday morning. That day can't come soon enough. I want to get rid of my stuff. I want to clean it out because it's just going to help with my process, and it is going to help me a little bit with the bomb that has hit my room. So to put it into perspective, as part of me cleaning things out, doing a bit of stitching while things are being shredded, scanned, and all the business, I actually came across some quilting fabric that I've forgotten about. Like I know that I had some quilting fabric in my filing cabinet that I do remember purchasing, but then there was some other fabric that I've bought that I forgot about, and I've seen again and go, oh yeah, that's right, I was going to do that with it, eh? So to help put into perspective, I'm going to actually share with you some of the stuff that I've come across. And if you're not interested in quilting or anything like that, that's totally okay. It was great to catch up with you, and if you want to head off, that's okay. I will catch you in roughly 2 weeks' time, all that kind of stuff. But if you're interested in fabric and quilting and possible project bags and all that fun stuff, all that goody stuff, hang around by all means. Okay, so when I mentioned before about the midnight glow and my intention of making some horsey quilts or something similar to that, I bought some horse themed fabric. So it's fabric, then some quilting kind of fabric that is like the panels and such that you cut up and then re-sew and all the rest. So it's that, and then got this smaller panel. And so with those things in mind, I'm probably going to or try my hand at making a doubly lined, yeah, I think we've got enough fabric for that. I guess it depends on how big the bag's going to be. A few project bags themed based upon the fabric that I've got. So I've got a horsey themed one, and then we've got puppy dog one, and the puppy dog one is still do a quilt. So this is where I'm still umming and ahhing about things because I am slowly stitching through some projects that I do want to eventually assemble into a quilt or something for my boyfriend because he and we both love dogs. He's more of a dog fan than I am. I love dogs and cats. I've grown up on a farm where we had cats and dogs plus half the other farmyard from old McDonald's farm. So that's where I love cats and dogs equally. Both of them have their good traits, bad traits, and they're both awesome. They're both awesome animals. So this is the first bit of fabric that I've bought, and it's upside down. So it's got a variety of doggy breeds here, and I can see the back of it. This is really, really cute. This is really cute fabric. I love it. And then we've got another panel that is just dedicated to Labradors. So I've got this one, and this is just so cute. It's very cute. And then we've got two, I guess they're very similar shades. They could almost have been dyed in similar dye lots. They're both yellow, one's slightly darker than the other. The darker one's appearing more orange at the moment on camera, but they've got like a bit of a tie-dyed kind of mottled look about them. They look really cool. So I think these two fabrics could actually go really well with this doggy panel. Sorry. Or it could even go with the other. Yeah, it could go really well with both. So I could make almost 2 doggy bags out of that, out of these 4 lots. Then we've got this one looks, I guess, a non-denominal kind of doggy breed. Initially it looked a bit like it could be I don't know. It's dog print. And then that could almost be the lining for at least one project bag. And then this one is cute. This one, so I was having a look at a bit of this fabric before, just to refresh my memory. And yeah, this one I have a soft spot for. So I'll potentially cut up these panels to make it into like maybe a bigger bag or something. So I've never owned bulldogs, but my boyfriend and I always find them entertaining. They're just so placid, and with the owners that I have seen, like on social media and that, these dogs are just, yeah, they're brilliant. So we've got some Labradors, and there's a Jack Russell, or 2 Jack Russells, but the Jack Russell that we see on these panels here that's got the blue collar, it reminds me of the Jack Russell that my parents had. Um, so mum and dad would take the dogs down to the coast, especially in recent years, with the blue heeler as well. And they've got photos of Russell, the Jack Russell, and Holly, the blue heeler, going for walks on the beach and that kind of thing. And with the Jack Russell we see with the blue collar, he was obsessed with the ball. He was a very entertaining boy, and hopefully as time goes on, I'll be able to share more stories with you about him. Sorry, a little emotional. Okay, so we're going to have potentially 3, maybe 4 doggy project bags. So the next one, this is where I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with these. So this is where I had my boyfriend in mind for this panel and the next one. So this is where my boyfriend loves fishing, and I've bought this with him in mind, and the project I finished for him. Actually, I do have it around. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, so a while ago, this pattern was out of a Cross Stitch Gold magazine. It's got anchor threads in it, that kind of thing. I guess I stitched this with the intention of making it into a quilt, but I could almost get away with maybe making it into a project bag or something like that, or some kind of something. I don't know. The fabric actually complements the cross stitch project really well. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about it, because the other panel thing, it's a fairly repetitive project or pattern. This one, so this could almost be lining. Got ideas. So this is where it's probably a good thing that I'm showing you all of this, because this is helping me process my ideas of what I can do with all this. The storage is still going to be a pain in the neck. I'm not going to get onto that one. But got some ideas on that one. Thank you, people. Thank you for being my sounding board. So the other one that's kind of doggy themed, kind of bear camping kind of themed, is this one. So this one's really cute. So I think I bought this one because it's got dogs on it. It's got teddy bears. I think at the bottom it's got some wording that says, I love my pets. So I could almost really cut this up and do a lot of panels and such. So we've also got some cats, and it's got some panels underneath of mice and balls of yarn and those sorts of cat toys that some cats enjoy. Yeah, we've got options in that one. So, yeah, not quite sure. I think as much as I like the idea of cutting these up into strips, is I'm going to end up really mucking up the fabric in the sense that I might want to feature for example, the dashins with the doggy bones, but because of me being really awesome, not with my seams and that kind of thing, I'll be able to feature the doggy bones and the dashins, but the whatever it is I use for that particular strip is going to fall apart because I'll have stitched too close to the edge of the fabric and not allowed enough of a seam or anything like that, or enough of an edge to help with the daily life of how that fabric might be used. So yeah, I don't know. I guess my other thought was that I could use, like, if I did cut it up into strips, that it could be used for scrapbooking, or it could be used for. See, talking out loud again, this is a good thing. So with some of these thinner strips, they could be used for handles. So if I'm wanting it to be like a carry project bag and that kind of thing, um, that could be a good thing. I'd still need to be careful about my seams and that kind of thing. But if I choose the right kind or the right color of thread with the sewing machine, then it won't be too bad. It won't be noticeable. And I do have a reasonably good variation of colors to choose from. So I've just got to be careful and be patient. That can be an interesting mix, me being patient with being precise. Wait and see. So now that we're starting to go along the lines of bears and that kind of thing, I do have some teddy bear themed ones. So back when I really started to get into cross stitch again, I had bought 4 kits. I think they were DMC themed, branded kits that were teddy bears, and they were teddy bear series. Um, I can't quite remember that. I can picture them. And I'd go and get the kits, but my boyfriend is working at the moment and I don't want to interrupt him. That said, I do have on my blog, and I'll include it in a link in the description box, where I wrote a blog post about the things that I've learned with cross stitch and storage of cross stitch, and I guess my journey of getting back into cross stitch and that kind of thing, and that it can be difficult to remove dirty marks on fabric if they're not taken care of properly, not washed, or everything in that kind of realm. So based on those 4 cross-stitch projects, I wanted to make a teddy bear quilt. So I bought a bundle of different teddy bear themed um, bits of fabric and that kind of thing to then cut up and make a quilt. And I could do that, and I think the novice in me with quilt making forgot that aside from having patterned fabric like all of this, that I would actually need some plain fabric, or plain-ish fabric that had just really subtle patterns in it and that kind of thing. So it could be, and my apologies to my back to you. So this is where I've got this lot of these bundles of fabric where they're either just blocks of solid colour or they're um, fat quarters or something that have got subtle patterns on it that should complement the other blocks of quilting fabric that have those wow kind of patterns on it. So the good thing is I've got a variety, and so that said, so we've got teddy bears. So we've got at least one, two, maybe three teddy bear project bags that could come out of that. Now we've got some cats. So again, the thought of doing a cat themed quilt, a lot of this isn't going to happen. I'm just going to move this out of the way. Okay, so I just need a drink, another drink. Well, guys, we've gone past an hour. If you're still with me, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for sticking with me. So I've still got a little bit to go, then I should be done. Okay, so this is the last round of fabric that I have to share with you. So again, these will be project bags, and what my thought process is with this is that each panel that you see here, in terms of each picture you see of the cats, that will be the main picture you would see on the actual project bag. So it'll be on the front. That said, it looks like what, six bags out of there. And this is where I was umming and ahhing because the amount of fabric there is and just how cute it is. Oh, this is where I thought, oh, it could be the lining, or it could be the outside. Oh, could be on the outside, could be on the back. Thoughts, so many indecisions. So there's quite a lot of fabric that I've got here. I think this is at least a meter, maybe two. I won't completely unfold it because it's a fairly repetitive pattern, but this is just so cute. I love it. I love the colours on it, and it is just so cool. So I think it could complement the cats that we've got here. Yeah, I don't know. What do you reckon? I reckon it could be cool. So there's plenty of fabric for at least two fabric things, project bags. And then we've got this fabric pack. So it looks like these are fat quarters. I haven't opened up the fabric and I won't on camera because of the rustling and that kind of thing. Actually, no, I've got it. I like a little bit of ASMR as well, and I'll try and be gentle for anyone here who has earphones on, because this plastic sound can get to be quite loud. So we've got here, okay, so it's got ribbon just to try and hold it together a bit. It's got a little bit of cardboard, and yeah, so these are fat quarters that, ooh, it's very cute. That could work well. So yeah, these are fat quarters that looks like it's almost two of each, and so yeah, it's a smaller panel of the one that you saw down there. So this, I could actually make a quilt out of this, quite literally, because of the panels, and then see how we go. Oh, whoa. That's a lot. That's a lot going on. Good thing I've got a week off work, eh? Oh wow, this is gonna be fun. It'll keep me out of trouble. It'll be alright. It'll keep me out of trouble. But a part of this big struggle though is I still have two full drawers of a 4 drawer filing cabinet that has whips that have become UFOs. I have kits that I may or may not ever finish or start or work on. And then I've got some fabric in there as well, ranging from 14 count of Ada, different colours, through to 28 count, even weave, linen kind of fabric, um, and patterns that are full coverage that I will most likely scan as PDF, to turn them into PDFs to put into Pattern Keeper, because I've just fallen in love with that app and using paper. Sorry if you guys heard that, I just had a notification come through my phone. So I still feel like I'm about to sneeze, so my apologies. This dust from the fabric and that tickles the nose sometimes. So there's all those sort of things. I'm just trying to figure out where to put it all. So that's why I'm talking about project bags, because even though fabric can fold down small, I am always going to have a lot of fabric. A lot of fabric, yes, I will always have a lot of that. But I'll also have a lot of projects to work on. And using, I guess, tote bags can help a little bit. There are some full coverage projects where I I need a lot of floss. So some patterns call for like 140 something or other colors to nearly 200 colors, and there are some projects that do call for a lot less than that. There was a pattern I saw in my stash that calls for about 38 colors, which is reasonable. So to put it into perspective, and I don't have it with me, but I do have something similar. Please bear with me. I'm just going to disappear off camera for a little bit. So to help put it into perspective, this is the brand name is Plano, as in PLAN Finelli O for orange. This is a tackle box used for fishing, and I bought a 4-pack of different colours. So in the pack it had yellow, green, blue, and orange, and this is what I use to store a lot of my floss, especially for some of my full coverage projects. And what I have struggled with over time is to find bags big enough to actually fit this box in. So to fit this box in, plus my fabric, plus my hoop. I am a dedicated hoop user for my projects, and I have considered using Q snaps, but I I don't know, I've not bit the bullet, and if I do bite the bullet, I might end up biting a bit too hard and just go down another rabbit hole. That said, I do have a scroll frame that I inherited from a lady I used to work with. I just before I left that job, she was going to retire soon anyway, and she was cleaning out her house a bit. And she, as part of her and I talking, um, I knew that she was into knitting and crocheting, and my ears picked up when she talked about cross stitch. And so I inherited from her some cross stitch stuff. I'm just going to grab it. That she was never going to use finish. I think she had been given a project. Bear with me. Okay, so there is a bit of rustling and that kind of thing for here. So this was, I guess, for a tapestry I think that she was working on, and there we go. And I guess it's, sorry for the bang there. So I don't know how long this particular tapestry has been on this scroll frame for, but the this is a blessing in disguise where I could use this, could in fact use this for some of my bigger projects. And the really awesome thing is that, pardon me, I actually have some tapestries hanging up in my cupboard that I really want to eventually touch, but it's going to be a while before I get to it. So I don't know what the measurements are for this particular scroll frame, but it looks like it's got maybe two different sizes here, and I've I've never used a scroll frame before, and I know that it can sometimes be a challenge to keep the tension on the sides. So I think it'll be just a special kind of project that I'd use for this. So options and ideas. Oh, sorry. So we'll wait and see how things go. Yeah, there's options. So there's that. But yeah, I just I've always struggled to have bags that were big enough that I could zip up, so my cross stitch stuff doesn't go everywhere, and I'm not using tote bags that you might use if you're going down to your local grocery store or whatever it is to pick up your milk, bread, and anything in between. So that's a bit of the basis for why I'm talking about project bags, and it's also connected with me trying to help my boyfriend actually have a space dedicated that is just his, because I'm lucky enough to have this space that still will always look like a bomb headed, and that's just how I am. I don't always look like a bomb headed. Depends on which day you catch me, but it's how I feel comfortable. It's how, for me, a room that does look a little bit messy to me feels comfortable. I don't feel like I'm living in a museum where I can't touch anything. That's a different story, probably not best for this channel. But that said, with the way my boyfriend and I live, I'm a work in progress. I do try to keep the spaces clean-ish. I do have my moments where it's like, please just leave it, let me leave it there. I'll come back to it soon, I swear. 3 days later, it's alright, I'll get it out of the way. It's that kind of scenario. So we'll get there, it'll be alright. And I could even still use some of these charms that I was talking about before with the project bags as well. I do have some cat themed ones, and I definitely have some doggy themed ones, and cat and dog mostly, that could very much be connected to a lot of these project bags and whatever I do. So with that in mind, I have a lot of plans that you've seen that I really would like to try and make a start on. We are nearly an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm going to put a pause on it now. Thank you all so much for sticking with me if you've lasted this long. If no one's listening right now, no one's watched to the end, that's totally okay. That's no worries. I'll be able to catch up with you all hopefully in 2 weeks' time, and I will have some more details about some giveaways and that kind of thing, because I just really want to acknowledge just how many subscribers I now have, and how many people who have stuck with me and are watching, and have been regular watchers as well, and that kind of thing. I still am working on figuring out how I'm going to work it all, because for February it's my birthday month. I want to do something connected to that as well, and hopefully in my next Flosstube episode, I'll be able to provide you all with some more details about that. And so my theory, thoughts, plans at the moment is to try and have some giveaways that are maybe based on the project bags that I want to make, have some discounts connected to hot cross stitching, and have maybe some giveaways associated with hot cross stitching as well. So keep an ear out for that. I'll try and do something. I can't make any guarantees. This is still really new to me, and I know I'm putting a bit of pressure on myself to stick to some deadlines, which is a good thing. Deadlines are a good thing because otherwise nothing will get done. As long as those deadlines are reasonable. So thank you all. I'll wrap it up now. I'm hoping that next week I'll be able to do a stitch with me. So based on some really great feedback that I got around the whole stitch with me's and all the rest, I'm going to try and be consistent and do them once a month, and each month it'll be a different project. So I'm not going to say or plan out which month is going to be for which project. It's just going to be whatever I feel like working on at the time. And with that, all of that in mind, I just really want to say thank you all very much, and I hope you have a wonderful week, a wonderful fortnight, that you all stay safe and happy, and happy Australia Day to all the Australians who are watching, regardless of where you are in the world. And I hope you all have great Australia Day, regardless of whether you choose to celebrate it or not. And I hope you all have some really good stitching. Regardless of who you are, I hope you all have a great time. See you.